Recession-proof Microsoft is laying off 1,000 employees. And yes, that is a small amount of employees, but people seem to think that tech is a recession-proof industry. So I'm going to talk about that in this video. I have a few things pulled up saying the top recession-proof jobs in tech as well as tech companies. And let's take a look. But first I see, now I am not an accredited source of information. Double check my words if you don't believe me, but job openings are down 1 million in the workforce, with major companies planning to lay off up to 50% of staff, mostly remote workers. That does sound a little crazy, but I will say that remote jobs are not recession-proof. But let's talk about recession-proof industries. I have a list from Indeed.com. I chose Indeed because a lot of job searchers really trust Indeed, but this is a company that makes money off of selling your resumes to other companies. So they're not making money by you getting a job. They're making money by pimping out your information to recruiters across the country. So some recession-proof industries we have is healthcare. As we saw with COVID, healthcare did make it through. I would say that healthcare advancement was delayed by COVID, and I saw lots of reports in 2021 saying that the industry was excited for the advancements in research and medicine to pick up the pace after COVID, and that really hasn't happened. Food and beverage, of course, that's going to have some stability in a recession. Discount retail. Yeah, the dollar store is no longer the dollar store. I've given up with Walmart for some items and just gone straight to the dollar store because it is the cheapest option, and it's still not that cheap. Utilities. This is a fact. If you're dealing with a company that handles utilities or the payment of utilities, there's definitely some security there. We have the federal government. Yes, it's going to be stable during a recession. Education. Now, I would put a question mark by this. As we know, if you've been paying attention, higher education has fallen in popularity. The enrollment levels have lowered, and I know personally people trying to get students into colleges are struggling to get new people into the college or higher education. So yes, elementary schools and high school teachers will have some stability during a recession. It's not like they get paid a ton of money, so that's something to consider. Law enforcement. Since the BLM movements have happened, people have been leaving law enforcement basically in droves. I personally watched several people go from being a police officer to an underwriter or accountant. We have DIY and repairs. I would say maybe the DIY YouTube industry will have some stability in a recession, but people that will do repairs for your home, that will be more applicable to the upper middle class, not really the middle class or lower. Financial services, yes, people are going to want to not mess up on their taxes and get their accounts audited before the new IRS agents the government hired comes for them. Budget travel. I would question this. Flight prices are really expensive right now, airline prices. I know I paid like $500 to go to cross one state. Usually it's not that expensive. So budget travel, I would say, Airbnb is not a budget travel anymore. So the budget airlines might do well and budget hotels, but I would question a lot of companies that call themselves budget travel companies are not actually budget travel companies and might not make it. Now we have social media listed as an industry. This is not true. This is not true. Social media is losing its popularity. Some of them, obviously TikTok and Snapchat. Snapchat has fallen in popularity, but TikTok is doing well. We know that Facebook, for the first time ever, has a reduction in number of users. Check that out for yourself. Freight and logistics. We are all familiar with this industry from what happened during COVID. Logistics slowed down, and yeah, there is some stability in that industry. I would suspect that there was an understaffing in 2020. A lot of companies went crazy and either implemented new vendor services or new employees to keep up with that increase in growth. But as people have less money to spend, they need to ship things less around. And the final industry listed as a recession-proof industry is the information technology industry. If you watch my channel, you know I talk a ton about the tech industry, and I think it's really interesting. They list IT as being stable. I would say that Payment processing will have stability in the tech industry. The cloud industry will do well, but there's parts in the cloud industry that are going to be automated away. If you're a DevOps engineer, you know that's your job, to automate all the tasks. And eventually, it is possible to automate yourself out of a job. More companies will likely seek either cloud vendors or more internal cloud employees to reduce costs. So while cloud has some stability, it's still going to reduce in size like any other industry. I also looked up 10 recession-proof jobs from Indeed. Don't trust Indeed. Teacher, don't get paid much. Accountant is being automated away as a job at some companies. A funeral director, okay. Detective, I could see that. Professor, registered nurse, physical therapist. I would say that a lot of the medical jobs will increase in the need of employees that they need, so will be less likely to be laid off. A big impact of that is the boomers. They are aging out and they are dying with more diseases from different lifestyles. I'm kind of implying that the boomers smoked and drank and didn't eat healthy, ate fast food, and sat inside all the time. So they have a lot of health issues that need support from the medical industry. We have psychologists, okay, I could see that, and pharmacists, healthcare. The last recession-proof job listed is a software engineer. Why do people think that this is a recession-proof job? Well, I think a big aspect of that is in 2008, when the big crash happened, that was around the financial industry and the housing industry, but the tech industry at that time really didn't get impacted. A lot of people are forgetting about big crumbles in the tech industry, like, for example, WorldCom in the early 2000s had a big accounting error and crumbled as a company. We have had the dot-com bubble burst in the 90s, so tech is not recession-proof. Why do we think it's recession-proof? I would say one, because we've seen as a society a ton of startups become more popular, like Airbnb and Uber. These companies don't generate that much profit. They don't really bring a ton to society, but still there are proving to be valuable stocks like Tesla. Why is the stock so valuable? I think this is why a lot of people think tech is recession-proof. Also, tech is the highest paid industry in America. You can make $300,000 as just a senior software engineer. That's a base salary. That is not with bonus or stock. So yeah, it's going to seem like no recession could touch a salary that high. Even a software engineer making $300K, if they do get hit by the recession and lose a third of their income, they are still at the top 0.1% of earners of $200K plus. So that is another aspect. People think that tech is recession proof because they're high paid. And finally, I think that our society is kind of used to technology being a part of our lives every day. We realize that the web browser needs to be run by someone and that our Apple Watches have technology that someone developed. So we have conceded to the idea that we have this digital life that kind of controls everything. So if the technology industry in a way impacts us every single day, then it must have some stability in that industry. But here are the points that I want to bring up. Number one, a lot of people working in the tech industry are either in maintenance mode or growth mode. If a company is expecting a lower level of profits, well, they're not really going to grow new technology. They may reduce the amount of maintenance on the infrastructure. The QA testing industry, those engineers, I'm seeing a ton on the job search. That's probably because the company is no longer growing their infrastructure and do not need to test new systems. They just need to keep legacy engineers on the team to manage those things, so they don't need a big testing department. Secondly, yes, software engineers get paid a ton of money. A lot of those 300K engineers are at FANG companies. I bring this up all the time. It's FANG companies that have increased salaries in the tech industry overall. And now these FANG companies are on hiring freezes. I personally know that Amazon and Facebook are not hiring. That's two of the FANG in the name. So if engineers that are either at the company or could have gone to the company in the past, they're no longer getting better incentives, a high base salary, then they are going to have to settle for a less than FANG salary. Yes, that's still going to be a lot of money, but it just pushes the ladder down and down and down until you have a web developer that has mostly PHP, HTML, and some Docker experience. Well, they're going to struggle to find a job and might end up taking a job that pays a little bit closer to a graphic designer job than it would an Amazon engineer job. And another aspect I think prevents tech from being truly recession proof like we think, software engineers are not bringing money into the company. And that's painful for a lot of them to hear because it is not an easy job to develop some of these programs. But at the end of the day, if a software engineer comes in and works for a day, it's not going to increase the company profit by any marginal level. It is really hard to track the resourcefulness of an engineer beyond getting to their daily tasks. So if you look at a company, you're trying to decide who needs to go, who needs to stay. It's pretty easy to look at those who are making profit for the company and choose to move forward with people who generates profit. Well, that's sales engineers, that's C-suite leadership, that's people who are managing accounts. The best account managers at a company may have a more recession-proof job than a software engineer because the account manager is keeping accounts in the company, while the software engineer may just be maintaining a system and increasing small processes for a slightly better customer experience. I have pulled up on Reddit, I love Reddit, some recession-proof early tech roles. Now, this is an understandable question. If you look at the research, people who are looking for the highest salaries are entry level in their career with less than 5 years of experience, particularly the age range 25 to 34, or sometimes it can be shown as 26 to 35. They are the most likely to ask for a higher salary. I would suspect that they are more likely to ask for remote as well. And in the same way, they are the most likely to be on the job search. They're early in their career trying to get some recognition. So what are some good early recession-proof jobs? The first response says, I don't think most entry-level roles are recession-proof. Maybe DevOps roles, but some companies are going to be less prone to firing engineers than hiring new engineers. This is on the mark. Now, they say their company that they would find. This is on the mark. They say that their company, or they say companies that are Fortune 500s, Fortune 50s, old, large, and government tech companies will have some recession proof, but this is the truth. Entry-level software engineer. Now, this is the truth. Entry-level software engineer roles don't have much recession-proof aspect to it. If you want to hire someone on your team to do development, why are you going to hire someone with minimal experience? Most people who are getting their first job out of the industry are seen by companies as people who need to be trained up into the position, who will take weeks or months to actually contribute to the infrastructure. Whereas if you're hiring someone that's a lead or a senior engineer, they're expected to contribute within the first month, possibly even the first week. So if you are a company trying to cut profits, well, you're not going to take a chance on someone that doesn't have experience, and you'd have to contribute a significant amount of time, resources, or just money paying them to learn on the job. So if you are on the job search yourself right now and you are struggling to find an interview, So if you are on the job search right now, maybe you're struggling to get an interview as an entry-level developer, I would suggest to just get something on your resume that can be an internship, a part-time experience. Dare I say even go onto some online thing where a TaskRabbit. I know that's offensive to some CS engineers, but you're going to struggle to get your first entry-level job. Either it's going to be underpaid in the city that you want to live in, or it's going to be in the middle of nowhere with a boring corporate tech company that will pay you a good salary. That's the future that you're looking at. I wanted to pull up a few of what they call highly profitable companies. But first, I wanted to talk about what they call recession-proof companies. I have my mic lower. I hope you can still hear me. So we have 15 of the recession-proof companies listed. This is by Business Insider. They have a lovely paywall that is definitely not a bummer for me. We have Colgate. Let's see if Colgate lay off. In late October this year, oh, are we having any layoffs? April 2020, Colgate had layoffs. So they call Colgate recession proof. They've already had layoffs this year. Procter and Gamble, layoffs. August 2023, 2022, they let go of a lot of people. 3.2% of the company. Abbott Laboratories. Now, they make things like Pedialyte. I know Abbott. It is a larger company. There we go again with the healthcare companies they say are recession-proof. Abbott laid off 400 full-time employees in August 2022. Some more recession-proof companies that are not being proofed of this recession. We have Bristol Myers Squibb. As of September 2022, they laid off 90 employees with 260 more to go. Let's check out Johnson & Johnson. I know they laid off about 1,000 people only a few weeks ago. Recession-proof company General Mills. Let's go take a look. 700 to 800 employees in the U.S., 500 to 600 in Canada, cutting 20% of its 3,000 employees at a certain HQ. Wow. So they are definitely not recession-proofing this recession. McDonald's. Yeah, I would think that McDonald's would make it. No layoffs there. People really view McDonald's as like the only cheap place to eat. It's bad, but you can afford it. I actually went to Sonic the other day, whatever. I like their sodas, and I noticed that my soda was 50 cents more than it was listed on the menu. Can I report them? Can I get like a refund for false advertisement? Let me know in the comments below. Coca-Cola laid off 17% of its global workforce. They call that recession-proof. These other recession-proof companies are cigarette companies. It does seem like cigarettes have become less popular, especially since Juul came out. 5% of its workforce is being laid off this year for Altria. They own Marlboro. That name is so ugly to say. Now, Duke Energy seems like a utilities company. I would kind of feel like it has some recession-proof energy, Duke Energy, recession-proof energy. Duke Energy announces, what does it say? Oh, they have yet to... Come on, tell me. No, I don't think they have any layoffs yet, but they're not as profitable. American Electric Power, again with the utility companies. No layoffs there. Consolidated Edison. Now, a lot of these like earlier companies were healthcare companies. They call that a recession-proof industry, remember? And I'm not sure if that's true with this recession. Consolidated Edison has announced its first quarterly earnings. They saw $14 billion in revenue. No layoffs coming anywhere for this other energy company. So it's starting to look, like my assumption was correct that energy does well, but these other companies that are more associated with healthcare and retail, they are not recession-proof. Now, I looked up a list of recession-proof tech companies. Business Insider had a really good article, and I can't get past the paywall, so I unfortunately can't read it to you, but I have a offshoot list I got from randomwebsite.org. It's epi.org. They call Walmart a tech company. Now, Walmart has Walmart Labs, which is this cool startup style tech company in the Walmart family, and they have pretty good hiring standards. I'll admit, I've worked with the recruiters before, so it is legitimately a tech company. They are laying off 1,500 employees in the company that focus on delivery. Walmart has also laid off some of its warehouse staff. So what it tells me is that Walmart is either seeing less deliveries and purchases going through, or they're suspecting that coming up. So Walmart is having layoffs. Not yet hearing a ton of information about layoffs in the tech department, but like I said, software engineers are maintaining and upgrading systems that exist. So if the system isn't being used as much, then I can't imagine they're going to be hiring a lot anytime soon. Now, the next one is IBM. It's a nice old company that a lot of us forget about. The CEO told the company in June that it would have an orderly wind down with alleged plans of layoffs. Then we go into October and I see golayoffs.org. The entire workforce in IBM Russia is being laid off. That sounds like it could be impacted by the wartime, but also companies are going to take any excuse that they can to lay off as long as it keeps their reputation good. So they're going to say they're laying off because of the war in Ukraine. Who knows if that's actually true? Now we have Aetna. It's a healthcare insurance provider in the healthcare industry. It's called a recession-proof company. Now, back in the 2000s, they actually laid off like 5,000 employees, at least what I'm reading here. But right now, I don't see any information about layoffs going at this company yet, but we will see. Next, we have Verizon Communications. Verizon is a great H-1B company. They love to hire people on contract or with H-1B and then kind of enslave them in the company by holding onto their visas. So I don't have a ton of respect for their hiring practices, but it is showing that the reports show that there's a 21.1 year-over-year decrease in earnings for Verizon. Wow. I know personally that they hire DBAs paying them like $180K base salary on contract. Caveat, if you're on contract, you're being paid higher because you have no job stability and you are expected to keep your own healthcare costs. Healthcare is expensive in the US, so I would imagine if I were on contract, which I have imagined that 20 to 30% of my after-tax income should be saved for, quote, healthcare costs or for increased taxes. I know someone that owns a consulting company, and now as they go through their taxes, they're seeing 60% of the income that they made has to go straight to taxes. So even if they saved half of their income, they're still going to be coming up with a tax bill that is higher than expected. So if you're a DBA at Verizon making $180K per year, okay, you need to reduce your salary expectations when you look for a regular job if you want any sort of job stability. We have Philip Morris, which is not surprising. They are another cigarette company, and they don't seem to be going through any recession. So the thing that I would say ending this video, it's not over yet, the recession-proof jobs in the tech industry are going to be involving cloud technology, payment technology, logistics, working with utility companies or energy companies. I would avoid trying to find jobs with companies that are platform as a service, software as a service. These are maintenance platforms or softwares that are built on the hope for growth. They are always hiring because they're getting newer and newer customers. But some of these companies are going to start buying their own software engineers to handle their own payment processing and get rid of these third-party vendors. I would expect Amazon should see a lot of cloud services go to other competing companies that have lower price points. So I would not suspect any PaaS or SaaS company to have any recession-proof quality, as well as social media. The culture around social media is changing. I personally don't have any personal social media. I like to be happy, and that's why. So I think there is a cultural move away from certain kinds of social media that we have known to be strong and stable companies in the tech industry. If you are in health tech, I would not assume that your job is recession-proof. I would hope that you have a very large team that you're directing, or you're working on a product or project that has a need in the company. It's not just an extra profit point in the company. I wouldn't bother trying to get a job that has anything to do with entertainment or leisure unless you are a Netflix engineer that is helping with the videos be uploaded. I don't know what I'm really saying, but Twitch engineers, Twitch did great during COVID. Those are the entertainment type of jobs I say have some sort of stability. But if you're getting hired as an entry-level developer at Fanatics, they sell collegiate and professional sports apparel, I would not suppose that you have any job stability. Sports is a big deal and everyone loves sports team, I get it, but the buying of sports memorabilia will certainly go down during a recession. People will just hold on to their hoodies from 2 years ago longer. So that is my opinion of what a recession-proof company is in the tech industry. Again, to cap it off, avoid front-end roles. There's too many of you. if you're a DBA, drop your salary expectations. The cloud industry will have the most stability. Don't assume that healthcare will have stability just because the boomers are getting old. And if you're going to go into a startup, I would suggest to make sure it has a ton of funding, a parent company, and is solving a real world problem. I know there's companies out there solving, for example, they're automating medical coding with artificial intelligence. And while that solves a real world problem, that is going to take a long time to implement. I'm not sure how stable I would feel in that kind of company, because it's going to take years and years and years to get that technology into the healthcare industry, into the hands of doctors or just medical insurance companies. So there's a chance that they run out of money before that goal is reached. Look for tech companies, startup companies that have to do with databases, data organization, servers, cloud. Stay in that realm. If you're on the job search and you're not sure about where you should apply to, what industries you should target, or if you're in one of these susceptible industries like a social media company and you are unsure about your job security, please subscribe to my channel. I'm going to be honest with you and tell you the truth, not what Indeed is telling you because they make money off of pimping your resume. I tell you the truth because I want more followers on YouTube, so please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.